Hello. As is tradition, I've made a new thing, which means it's everybody else's problem, and I'm going to have to explain it to them into a video. So that is what this is. Um, a new version of Gunpowder slash Serpentine. Um, Works vaguely similar to the previous version, and that is that you come into the company builder. There will be two versions of this, I should note. One of them will have this resolution tab, the others won't. The ones without will be player versions. The one with will be for umpires. Um, anyway, you come in here just as before. You give your unit a name. You give it a species, a level, a quirk. The quirk is new. It is your specialization from previous versions. I've combined specializations and commander quirks into one place to make my life easier. I may add in a separate leader quirk later on, but we will see. Now, in this version, the presumption is that you have 100 people in a company. So rather than doing officers, NCOs, and enlisted, it will instead be officers and NCOs. Those two numbers are added together and taken away from the presumed total of 100. So you put in your officers, you put in your NCOs. You can then add in your primary weapon, your secondary weapon, your melee weapon, any equipment you want, and you mount. Same as before, really simple. You can see if I open these, you can see what the options are. It's two numbers you can input and then a series of drop-down menus. As with previous versions, any information you want is in here. I've tried to lay it out a little bit more easily. Don't know if that's working for anyone, but yeah. Big change, however, it is no longer bright green and bright red, so it's no longer like opening up a flashbang. Anyway, the all units bit will be a combination order of battle and a reference for the resolution section, which we will get onto in a moment. So, in this, what you are doing instead is you are putting in the name of the template you've just created in the company builder, and you're just assigning a name to it. So A company, B company, C company. You can also assign leader names. And then you'll group this into your battalion, and that will be your unit on the battlefield that you then command. That's really the simple part. This company name bit, though, is very important. I haven't made artillery work on this, but it will work on the same principle. This is what you'll need going forward, because if we come into resolution, this is for umpires, but I'm going to explain it here because it makes, well, you can see how it works that way. So what will happen is XYZ units come into contact. In this case, we have 8 different versions of A company engaging in a firefight. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take the name of the unit and you're going to put it here. That will then summon here all the information from the template, and that will all show up in this area where it says base. Then you need to say whether or not it's being shot at. So in certain cases, for example, you may have a flanking unit. That flanking unit isn't going to be shot at, naturally. So if it's not going to be shot, you click no. If it is going to be shot, you click yes. Then you come down here to set what the range to the target is. So, for example, our A company number 1 over here may be engaging A company over here at 200 yards. It's a bit closer than its fellows. And what you will see is that increases its relative firepower. Then you can add in here whether or not it's melee or firefight. As you can see, if the range is too high, and this is the same as your reach, so in this case they have a very short reach of 5 yards, you can see that comes back again. But under any other circumstances, it will be too far a range and they won't be able to engage. So that's how you choose between melee and firefights. You can do a mix of both, so you can have one unit almost sort of like standoff fire support or suppressing fire, if you like. I don't know how common that's going to be in your games, but that's for you to decide. You'll then put in cover. What cover does, if I actually open this up, so what cover and concealment will do is they will reduce the amount of fire that comes towards the unit, which will then reduce casualties. And that works for both cover and concealment. Mounted only does one thing. If you are in melee, or if you're in shooting, if you're shooting another target, it will reduce your firepower because you're on a horse and you will be bouncing, and just generally you've got to try and keep one hand on the reins, and if you're moving and all sorts of reasons, it's going to reduce your ability to shoot straight. So that's what being mounted does. That will be for your cavalry units. If you are using elven units, so as you can see here, elven cavalry suffer no penalty from firing from horseback. The way that you will handle that is this unit is mounted, but I'm going to click no anyway. Yeah. You've then got some extra bits here down here. So if you've got the high ground, you click yes. If the unit is inspired, you click yes. If they've got leader support, you click yes. Any other thing that you want to suggest? So I don't know, they've got better technology or something. You just stick a 1 in there. You can see that increases the mod number. That is what is going to be modifying your units. It's reduced because the dice rolls are between 0 and 2 in units, tenths, and hundredths. So basically, you can get a number from 000 to 200. So something like 0.57. And that is how your dice rolls are going to work. So adding 0.4 onto that makes a difference. Or in this case, taking 0.4 away from it makes a pretty significant difference. Whereas if it was 4, yeah, that's just not gonna work. So basically, each one of these pips is a 5% modifier. So in this case, it's 20%. Yeah, cool. Once you've done all that, you're all settled in with how this is going to work. Also, by the way, this means that you can fire at 5 yards, and your firepower will be high. So once you've done that, I'm going to add in a button. I haven't done it yet. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to come into the script and you're going to run the script. Now, the first thing that we'll do is it is going to find out, it's going to find row 45. Row 45 is this one here, directly under the first level of the log. Traits are actually coming, all of this information here is being copied from the first row of the log. So what will then happen is it will then calculate, it will then copy this segment. No, that's wrong. What it will do is it will insert a bunch of rows here. It will then copy whatever is here and put it here, which is what this is. You can also see the dice rolls on here. And then it will generate a large number of dice rolls, which is what these are. It does many of these. I'm actually quite impressed that it only takes a few seconds considering how many dice rolls it's doing. What those dice rolls are is it's actually generating 4 here. But the strength one doesn't actually do anything, but it's easier than writing out, because you basically have to do a new line in here. So it's one less line of code basically. But it does these 4 here. It does this one here, and then that is repeated along here. So each of these rows has 5 dice rolls on it. There is also a dice roll here, and that relates to the amount of fire that's being made. So 0.92 is like just below average. 0.1 is awful. 2 would be good. 0 would be awful. 1 is mid. All of this is modified again by the modifiers down here, and also these numbers. So then what happens is, with a little bit of maths, it works out how many officers are going to die based on this dice roll and based on the dice roll from the fire. What you will also notice is that if this unit is not under fire, it does not take casualties, although it's already taken some casualties. A better example is over here. So currently this unit has taken no casualties. If I set it to yes, it will take casualties. That information, whatever is there, is then copied down here. So if we run it again, it will insert another set of rows. It will insert all of this information again, and you'd repeat that until you are happy with the until the fight is over. Essentially, the fight or the turn is over, and then you modify whatever you're doing with your unit. So, for example, in this case, this unit you can see from here has lost 50 morale essentially. So it's lost about an eighth of its morale. Depending on exactly how deep or how brutal you imagine combat being. So the way I would do this on base is that this unit has basically lost. So I would model this on the tabletop as it gaining a token for every 50 points of morale it loses. Or, well, every eighth of morale that it loses. And that way, your unit breaks after it's lost about 6/8 of its morale. But it's up to you ultimately how exactly you may manage that, because some people will think that, well, a unit is going to break when it's lost so much morale or whatever. So that is up to you, but that is the way that I would do it. Cool. I believe that is everything, other than the fact that I will add a button. I do not know exactly where I will put the button, but the button will be very obvious. Yeah, awesome. So thank you for watching. I don't know why you're doing this to yourself, but thank you anyway. Goodbye.